Hey again guys, and welcome to another positions tips video with me, CM. Today we're going to be doing it on Kharkov, and this is a map where there's actually some interesting things that you can do, but even though this map is not particularly great overall, there's going to be a couple of reasons for this that I'll say in a little bit. And there's definitely some places that you can take different tanks for different roles and different classes as well. I've got my friend Iron Man here along to help me out as well. So we're just going to start off with the classic zero line camper spot that you want to take at least one TD to. This is great for if there's a bunch of heavies. These bushes are fantastic. You don't necessarily need to sit directly in this one. Reason why is because if you get spotted here, you'll get shot by the enemy campers, and as well as the enemy heavies that tend to go down there. And also so you want to sit a little bit to the left of this one, but also with these bushes you can just spot. You don't have to do damage. Now you can see I got Iron Man to shoot, so then he just as if he was fighting someone else. So that tends to be where you'll spot people, because there'll generally be some fighting there. You can pick up some shots. Obviously when you double bush you want to pull back plenty behind these so you can shoot. And by the way, from those bushes you have a clear shot down most of this, by the way. So if people push down here, it's free damage. It's absolutely free. Obviously if you are in a heavy, then it is sometimes of benefit to try and go hold down here, particularly if you're in a Russian heavy. Mediums, I don't always recommend it, because there are going to be things that can pen you, unless you're in something like a Type 59. Like Iron Man is there. The T-44-100, while it's decent, there are definitely going to be TDs that are just going to shred your turret front, as well as some heavies. And now we're just going to show you the same on this side as well. Don't try and go up that slope that I showed if you're coming from this direction. And so from this one, I tend to find that this exact bush that I'm in is the one to go for, the one where Iron Man is currently. Not as good, because again, this is the side that where people are likely to blind fire you. This part, not so much. So you could use like where I'm sitting just now. You could be a bit further to the right, and you'll still be able to spot things that try and push down this way and get shots on them. Same with shooting out this way. You've got a lot of shots out into the 9 line there. And also, if you have managed to push through the city, there's some good spots that you can use for attacking and basically just for distracting and annoying people. Like this one, for example. If there are people down here that are maybe like in some of these alcoves, you can shoot them from here. And also, if there are people that have pushed down the zero line or are now on this corner, you can annoy them from here. And so this spot is kind of helpful. Same with if they've... In fact, if I turn the camera around a little bit, there's a little exit over here as well that gets people out of the little heavy tank brawling area, and you can shoot people who try and leave that way as well. This spot is great for if there are any defenders over here. You can annoy them from up here, or likewise if there are still heavies over here, you can harass them from this side as well. So next, we're just going to demonstrate some of the hold down spots. So this one is great if you've managed to push through the city and you've taken this area. You can somewhat go hold down here in a lot of tanks and shoot up towards the hill. If you are defending, however, if you are someone who's maybe got the north spawn to begin with, and some of the mediums or lights are trying to push up towards the hill, maybe like up, basically straight up the 3 line, you can spot them from here and also get shots and stay relatively hold down. Next, I'm going to show you these windows, so I'm just going to get Iron Man just to head straight down to his one. As you can see, completely hold down, and as am I. These are where you're not really going to be doing a whole lot to other hold down tanks here, unless it's against something like an M103 that has a very glaring weak spot on top of it. These are great for if people are trying to push through this section here. So you can stay hold down, they can't. And it's the exact same as the other side. So the windows that Iron Man go to, exact same purpose. However, I'm just going to demonstrate these. You can somewhat go hull down here behind these, by the way, and fight this corner in the open. Same with these rocks here. And where Island Man is as well does actually kind of counter any push from here. So you will get caught in the open by people that are at these windows. But if they are distracted, if the people at the windows are distracted and you have managed to get to here. Now, I'm going to slow this down for you guys because this is a bit of a meme. This is not something you can do going this way, by the way. Unless you have a platoon mate, at least. If you have a platoon mate, then yes, you can do this on the other side. What I'm about to do. But actually, Sircon almost got this right. He almost got it in his video where he was 3-marking the 110 on Kharkov. The video that he called, what was it? Gone Nuclear. That's it. So if you, I'll link that video down below as well, by the way, guys. Then you can check that out. But what I'm gonna do is I'll slow this down. Watch. I approach this little ramp here. And then just, yeah. Straight through. It's brilliant. It's really, really strong. Now this is good in 2 ways. If there's no one on the hill, if your team have taken the hill, then you can use this to spot the heavies. You can go hold down at these rocks here. Or you can go straight across into this area. I would actually recommend going across into here, because then you can use these as hold down cover against people here. You can actually see I'm pointing out to Ireland Man what you can actually do with this. And again, you've got some rubble here that you can use to somewhat go hold down against the hill. It's not perfect, but it's some cover at least. Some taller heavies like the T-34, for example, can use that really well. And again, just going over the same kind of hold down spots that you can use this side as well. You don't want to get bogged down here too much, though. And again, just showing that you've got some spots that you can use to shoot out towards the middle and out towards the 1-2 line from here as well. Just the downside here is you've got to be careful that you don't get shot from either of the hills. Not really much to go over there. If you are defending on this side, well, if you're attacking, you can use that bush to spot the hill. Or spotting defenders, you can go down here, you can stay hull down here if you're a taller tank, or, you know, if you are unspotted, then you can maybe creep your way into these bushes here, spot the hill. Now, these ones, you can do the exact same in. Just one thing to be cautious of with these ones is that you see this little mound of snow right there. You'll notice that when I knocked it over, some particle effects happen. Now, if there are players who are paying attention, who have particle effects turned on, and should be able to see that, then they will try and blind fire you. But it's very unlikely, because you do still have some cover, but just be aware that sometimes if people are paying attention, that's a possibility of that being spotted. But again, these bushes serve to counter spot the hill. Then, if you have won the city and there's no one that's going to be coming to your left or right, then you can comfortably spot from those. Okay, so if you're defending the cap circle from people... Alright, so if you're defending against people pushing from the hill, so if the enemy team has won the 1-2-3 line, and you are defending your cap circle, this is a decent spot to go if they are on the hill, because you can stay somewhat hull down against them, spot the people on the hill. It's not too difficult. However, just bear in mind that if they have made it to this little ditch here, then they can somewhat go hold down against you, and it's more difficult for you from there. While you can pull more to the left, it's a lot more difficult from there. So keep that in mind. And likewise, if you're attacking from this side and you manage to get this far, you can go hold down here against people on that corner. Moving up to the hill now. Now, if you're in a TD, you might want to consider coming up here if there's a lot of mediums or lights or even other TDs, because you're going to be able to farm a little bit from here. Like, especially if you're in low tier, by the way, if you're in like tier 5, 6, 7, then you'll definitely get some people that get spotted at the enemy base, and you'll be able to shoot them from here. You can pull back and double bush behind this, but do bear in mind that if there are people sticking around in the middle, like around here, maybe if they're further to this side, they might spot you if you're pulling back this way. You know, your back will be completely exposed if you pull back in the direction of my friend Ireland Man there. This bush, however, does counter the middle pretty effectively, and also counters the city. This bush can somewhat counter the city if you've pulled back to here, but you do have to bear in mind that there could also be people here at that point, if things are going really bad. So you can see the other bush that my friend Ireland Man is in. This is the bush that you would want to use if you are fighting against people on this side. If your team has control of the city, or at the very least is stopping the enemy pushing the city, then you'll be able to shoot at people who are over here, shoot at people who are over here, and also this bush here. Not so good against the middle. You have to bear in mind that if people have managed to like get to here, then they can spot out and like catch the back of your tank here. So the side that I'm on is actually a little better if you are shooting here. If there's no one that can spot you here, this where I am is better against this lot. And likewise, this little bush can be used to shoot against these. Just bear in mind that you have to have absolutely no one over here from the enemy team in order to use it. This ditch, by the way, I don't think I went over this before. But this ditch, if you have pushed the one line and it's the same on the other side, you want to be using this if you've won the 1-2 line, because it'll give you some hard cover and it'll give you some hold down cover and bushes against the enemy campers and against any enemy defenders. Okay, so this bush here, if you're in a light tank and you want to basically stop people from pushing down the 6 line, or at least spot them as they are doing so, or if you just want to spot people in the middle, this is the bush to do it from. This is purely for counter spotting only. You do not use this for lighting up anyone that's camping, because you just simply will not see them. You're too far. But it's great for counter spotting anyone that's in this area, basically. If they're around here, you can counter spot them. If you're all the way in the bush, you can even spot here, which is nice. If you are all the way into it and you've got a particularly good camo crew, you can even spot people along here, and who are going here, and here, and here, and also here. So it's purely for defensive purposes only. You cannot aggressively scout in this. And by that I mean you cannot spot any of the actual campers. So moving on, a lot of people tend to rush down this lane, and I'll go over this in a moment. And you do find that on both sides there's kind of hold down spots that you can peek over at either end, like as you're exiting, but that's hit or miss. I'll go over why in a moment. So if you are in a light tank and you have north spawn, this is a good bush to go to. Especially if there's only 1, maybe 2 light tanks. It is a bit of a casino, because you've got to hope that no one rushes down the 6 line. But if they don't, then this is very, very strong. Because you'll be able to spot people on the hill. You'll be able to spot people over here. You'll be able to spot people trying to leave the hill. And your campers will be able to take advantage of that. So as I go in here, this will actually completely cover me. I will not be able to get spotted at this point unless someone goes here. In fact, even then, if I were to go a little more forward, then they wouldn't. Or even if I was in a smaller tank, let's say I was in the AMX 1375 or AMX 1390 as examples, then I would be able to sit here and I would be completely unspotted unless someone got to maybe here with a really good crew, or maybe if they rushed me like coming down this way. But you do have to be careful of that. If you do get north spawn, I'm actually going to show you in a second how to get up here. So you see the slope I just slipped down? You can actually get up that, and I'm going to demonstrate this, and I'm not even at full speed in this thing. Kind of slide like that, and there you go, you're in the bush. You can do this with any of the light tanks, because you are a lot faster with this thing, well, compared to this thing, because they get better power to weight, they're generally faster overall. So things like the T-21 in the American line, I've done this with. The T-50 from the Russians, the A-20 from the Russians, the French ones can get here, the wheeled vehicles. You've got a lot of options with your small fast tanks. Even the T-67 from the Americans can get here very easily by going up the slope there. And that's the route you want to take going up to this bush. Now, if you have... if you're coming from south spawn, and there is no one that has been able to spot you coming here, maybe if their TDs are distracted on this side, and you've got a moment to push in, if you're able to, you can get yourself down here, and if you're lucky, you can get yourself into this bush. This is a very aggressive bush, because this will easily spot the campers on this side of the hill. Will spot pretty much anyone across this way. So it's a very aggressive position. You're not likely to be able to use this early game, but late game, yes, for sure. What you could potentially use, if there's no one that's really doing much spotting, and if you're able to like creep along the lower section here, you might be able to get yourself into these bushes, and this also counters the hill. Except if people are sitting in this bush and they're negligent to pull back, if someone's sitting in this bush and they don't pull back when they fire, you will see them from this bush. You'll also see people coming to this corner, pretty much most of the way over here. You'll see people coming this way. You'll see actually quite a lot of people over here as well, if you manage to get yourself into this bush. Just bear in mind that these people have a good chance of spotting you doing so, unless you manage to come up at a good angle, like straight up this way. Though bear in mind, if you come up straight up this way, like where this kind of like line of snow goes, then bear in mind that people on the hill have a chance of spotting you. Keep that in mind. Not much else to go over from this bush, so moving on. This bush. Now, this bush, if you have come from north spawn, is another option. Again, there's not many particularly safe routes to get to this, but if you are lucky and you manage to get either straight through the middle or straight down the 6th line through the trench and into here, then this can very easily spot people on their camper hill and also across this way. You might get the odd person who pops up here or here, but that's about it. It's definitely not a bad spot overall, if you can get it. If you can get to this without anyone seeing you, then you'll be able to do quite a bit. Or even if you manage to get yourself into this ditch and no one can really shoot you, then you can just crawl your way up into here, and like you can come around here, crawl your way up from this side, sort of how I did, and then you can get some good spotting out. Moving on, again, this bush, similar, but this is the one that you would want to use if you come from south spawn. Same idea as this one. That's it. Exact same idea. You can also use it from north spawn, but it's not quite as effective, so... This bush is the main one that you want. If you control middle, then this is the best spotting bush out of all of them, because it covers the widest variety of other positions. It covers pretty much this entire side. It covers pretty much all the hill on either side. It covers a lot of where people will defend. It won't go all the way out to here, but you will see people trying to cross to here quite often. You'll see people trying to shoot from here. You'll see people trying to shoot from here. It is very, very, very strong, but it's also risky, because if people see you going here, you're going to get blasted. It's very, very open. Basically, the dream for this one is that the enemy heavies will be distracted, like over, like in the 0 line, or maybe to the right hand side of the 8 line, without going down this road here, and that the enemy TDs are distracted for a moment, which gives you time to go along here and up into here from this side, or if you're coming from the other side, you can kind of come along this way and then into. Or if you've maybe hidden yourself in here for a moment, you can take the time to snake your way along here and into here. Just bear in mind, this is very situational, but it is also incredibly strong as a bush. Likewise, this side has some other aggressive spots that you can use. This is more mid to late game. This spots the defenders over here. So if you've won the hill, you can use this to spot people who maybe come out anywhere from here all the way across to these parts here in this kind of circle. Same with the one that Iron Man was in just there. This one, tiny, but gives you a better view. You can still spot all the way across this way, all the way around here, the hill, and still out this way. If you're in a small enough tank, you can sit here for a long time, actually. It's not bad as an early game bush either, if you can get to it quick enough. The only real safe route to get to it is this way, but you have to get kind of lucky that no one spots you from this side or from the hill. So keep that in mind. Moving down the trench now. Okay, so what I'm going to simulate is what people will... this is kind of like... This is the casino part I was talking about earlier. You will sometimes get people rushing down the 6th line. And this is at every single tier as well. This is not limited to low tiers. I've seen this at tier 10 a little bit as well. And so do expect that people will try and use this trench, get to here, and the respective part on the other side, so they can go hull down and spot the hill. Now this has two possibilities of what can happen. One, the heavies are too distracted in the city, so they won't come back if they're not paying attention. And then therefore you'll be able to just farm people over here. The other possibility is that you might, well, actually three possibilities technically. The other possibility is that these guys will blast you through whatever cupola or weak spot or side armor if you're not careful, and annihilate you. That's a possibility. Artie could shit on you as well, but I'm counting them among the people that are going to be over here anyway. The other possibility is that the guys from the city realize this, and they come back and help the guys on the hill to get rid of you. That's if you're by yourself. If you have a teammate, then you can use these spots very well. Or even if you have 2 or 3, this spot becomes much stronger. The more people you have here, I mean, you don't need all your team here, but definitely if there's like a couple of you, then it makes things very difficult for the enemy team. Now, you're going to notice, if I let myself take control of the camera, that, yeah. Now, when I was pointing at Iron Man there, I asked him what he could shoot of me. Well, the very little is the answer. You can actually see from this perspective, he really only had my turret front, and at best my cupola. With tanks like the T-44-100 and indeed the Type 59, this is very, very strong against people who are basically on the entire section where Iron Man is. And it's the same on the other side as well. It is very, very, very strong. But it is also very open in terms of artillery cover. RT will shit on you here if they are paying attention. Also, if people manage to get themselves here, or even if they have nothing to stop them from just YOLOing you and you're not on good health, then yeah, you could easily get stomped by heavies that are returning to the city. So moving on from there. Now I was saying before that the other side had a counter-spotting bush. This is the equivalent counter-spot bush for this side. Again, if you take a light tank and just stick it in these bushes, you can spot quite a bit of the way down this way. In fact, if you're further to the left, you can spot relatively far. Bear in mind that unlike the other side, this pillbox obstructs quite a bit of your view of this area. That's one downside to this one. However, if you are further this way, then you might get a better chance. Again, it spots pretty much all the way from here, all the way out to here as well. So if you are just hiding entirely in the bush with, again, something like a 1375 or a T71 or maybe an LTTB, I could fit in these actually as well. Then there's a lot of things you could spot that are attacking. Again, it's a purely defensive bush. It's not one that you want to use if your team are winning any of the flanks. It's not really good if you have to play aggressive. It's great for if your team are not doing so well at attacking. If you have to play more in the defensive, then yes, you can use this position really well. And it's the same for the other one. I was just indicating which pillbox blocked your view to Ireland Man there. So moving along, this ditch here, again, if you manage to push down the 1-2 line, you want to get yourself in here. That said, if you've won this side and you want to kill whatever's on the hill, you still want to get into this bush. And it's the same on the other side as well. Purely because of how good the cover is here compared to just sitting on like the open over there. These ditches, you'll also find artillery in them usually, so taking that out is going to be valuable. Now, this side, the hill is actually slightly better than the other one. For a couple of reasons. One, it's better for defending against people pushing from the city. This bush is a lot bigger and a lot stronger than the equivalent over there. Mainly because it's lower down, so you're less likely to get spotted from this side, as you can see. Second, you've got a much bigger open area where you can shoot people. You've basically got unfettered like shots all the way from here, all the way out to the red line almost, with the exception of maybe anyone that's behind this pile of rubble here. That pile of rubble, by the way, is where you want to be going if you are playing aggressive. Before going into the ditch. If you get the other spawn, that is, and you've won the city. Same deal from the other side, it's basically mirrored. If you're sniping the other side, you can use this bush, you can use this to shoot into the middle, you can use it to shoot over here. You do not have shots at anything on this side from this bush. It's the same on the other side as well. It's very good for also if you're shooting here and here. But as soon as people pop up here, abandon this bush. If people pop up here, here, or here, use this one. Now, this bush is your main one for shooting out this entire side. Basically from this side of the enemy building all the way out to here, really. It's not particularly big, but you can kind of adapt where you're sitting. It's, again, similar to what's on the other side. Moving on to the one line now. You've not got as many things you can do here. It's kind of medium tank brawl situation most of the time, but you can use this bush if there's no one that can counter spot you to shoot against the hill that's on this side. You can use it to spot the hill, and that's your limits of this bush. As you go into this one, now obviously you want to win this whole side first before you use either of these bushes, but both of these are purely for shooting and spotting the hill. That's it. So if you've won this side and you want to spot people that are camping, you can use this bush. And the same with this one as well. And then this is the bush that you want to use if you just want to spot this side and shoot the hill. Again, you have to really win this side to make best use of this. You can somewhat spot the middle with these two rows of bushes, but that's about it. This one is pretty much useless. You can, now, interesting thing about this, if there's no one in the middle to spot you, then you can somewhat use this against people that are going here, but it's risky. It is possible to use it as a double bush, but again, you're risky. At this point, I was showing Ironman something about camo hitboxes. That's something for another video, though. Alrighty, next set of positions. Well, actually, I was showing him something else that I wanted to test. I wanted to see if I could... Okay, so these windows actually show that you can get through them with the help of a platoon mate. So, you remember the window that I showed you on the other side? That you could get through by yourself. This side, you can still get through them, but you do need a platoon mate to do it. So, as I'm going to demonstrate, I'm going to take a full speed running like charge at it, basically. Speed this up a little bit. There. Now, sometimes you might be able to clip this bit, as I try to do so here, but it's really hit or miss. You're never going to get over this consistently without a platoon mate. It's the same for this one. You need someone to push you to get in there. Same cannot be said for this side, where you can just, as Iron Man will do right here, or try to do, Oh, there we go. Yep. You can get straight through this by yourself. Now, the smaller ones you can also get through. Really only with mediums. There are not really any heavies that can go through these, but there are some that can go, some heavies that can go through this one. And the same with the other bigger one as well. Tanks like the 110, IS-3, 50 TP prototype, and some of your other low profile ones as well, like the Object 257. The ones that are really, really low to the ground can get through those. Basically your flat tanks. Mediums in general can get through them, but maybe not taller ones like the M46 Patton. However, M47 Patton and M46 Patton, yeah. Your taller ones, basically your American ones, will not be able to get through these because their hitboxes are just too high. But a lot of other tanks that are a lot more low profile will be able to get through them. British mediums should be able to get through them as well. They're not too. The Comet for sure will get through. Same with the Cromwell. The one that Iron Man is at right now, you can get through it, but again, you need the help of a platoon mate, as we'll show right here. So I've angled myself on here. I cannot get through myself, as you can see, but with Iron Man's help, there you go. These are really good for the shock value. They'll take enemy teams by surprise quite a bit because they're not going to expect people to crawl through these little windows. So if you have a platoon and you've managed to push your way to either of these, well, maybe on this one, if you've managed to push through here and the enemy team are distracted by this whole section here, then you can use those to give them some shock value. These ones, however, you can use regardless, because if you manage to hop your way through here, you're probably going to do it before they can really react. Especially if they're distracted, which they often will be, you can just hop straight through. Well, bam, and yeah, just kind of deliver the shock side punch that they probably won't be expecting. Now, the downside here is, of course, you are vulnerable to the hill over here if your team hasn't taken it. That said, as I was going to show earlier, you can get yourself straight into where I'm about to go, which is over here. Now, you can side scrape this corner against the heavies, or you can go hull down at that little bundle of rubble that Iron Man is next to. That's your options, really. That's ideally what you want to be doing. And again, this side, like you have on the north side, you've got these little windows here that you can use to peek out and harass heavies here, harass people that are going down the 9 line, people that are coming out from the heavy brawling section over here on the 0 line. And that's your limits here. If you are attacking, you can also shoot people who are maybe defending the cap circle here, and maybe get around people using these. You don't have to stay on there. You can use them to jump down as well. So you've definitely got some options using those. And lastly, I'm just going to be going over... Okay, so this trench is actually kind of useful on this side. This is something that the other side does not have. This trench is actually really useful if you are defending, because it gives you some hard cover and gives you a way to block people from, seeing where you're coming from, to reposition. If you're using this to defend the cap circle, like this little, this little street here, then you can get yourself back into here if you're getting overwhelmed, and then move your way pretty much all the way back down the 0 line towards the 0 line in order to get away. This, by the way, is actually something where you want to go. Now, if you spawn on north and you manage to win the city, get yourself here. The hill will not be able to shoot you, and Arty will have a hard time hitting you as well. And likewise on the other side, if you win the 1-2 line, if you win the city, if you lose the city and you win the 1-2-3 line, and you're defending yourself against the city whilst capping, exactly here is where you want to sit, because that will protect you against this whole section here, and it'll force them to go here, where they are more exposed to the hill. They will be able to shoot you from here, and here, and here, but those are very, very open. They're very exposed to the hill. They are risky for the enemy team to do. And that's it. That's absolutely everything that I've got to show you guys on Kharkov. Don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of different pushes on this map as well that can give you camo, but apart from the ones I've showed, pretty much all of them are very risky and will likely get you killed most of the time. As for some of the other hold down spots, not much difference, to be honest. Like, for example, this little ditch here, you can use in the exact same way as the one up the north. It's a very mirrored map, which is rare in terms of wargaming maps. In terms of what both sides have, they have fairly equal opportunities on this map, with the exception of those windows and the exception of this mound of dirt here. That's pretty much it. Anyway, guys, that's all from me for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll try and be back soon with another map video for you guys. If there's anything you think I missed, pop it in the comments below. And like I say, back for the next one. See you later.